Hi everybody and welcome back. Well, we're ready now to move on to the second part of your three-part assignment. Today we are going to take the spreadsheet data you created and transfer it into an OpenOffice database. OpenOffice is a nice package. I will be frank though that the database is a little quirky, so some of the procedures we're going to use are going to be slightly clumsy. But OpenOffice is a nice free open source application that we can all use together. It does have its uses, and it's good to build our skills in a variety of different products and platforms. So that's why we're going to continue using this to keep some continuity between the OpenOffice spreadsheet you worked in and now the database. So we'll import the spreadsheet data. We'll add a key field to the a table we're going to create during the data import. Then we're going to build a simple query object that produces a journal citation list that's much like the citation list column you created in the last stage of the spreadsheet exercise. And we're going to use that again by using the formulas and formatting commands used in the database application. Then we're going to move on to build a simple SQL query that can be used as the basis of the report, the final report that you'll build as the third part of your exercise for the rest of this week and next. I should mention the great strength of database, desktop database applications like OpenOffice or LibreOffice or Microsoft Access or FileMaker Pro is that they allow you to create a variety of different types of database objects, queries, forms, reports, macros, that otherwise would require a good deal of programming to create if you were using a more traditional database engine that had no front end attached to it. So they're really handy tools, and the more expertise you gain with using desktop database applications, the better off you'll be in your career as an information manager. So we're going to move on to the desktop right now, kind of slide out of the slide deck, and we'll do the database file creation and the spreadsheet import, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking more about query objects after that. So here we are on the desktop. We're going to open the main OpenOffice menu and create our database file here. And we're going to create a simple empty database file with the wizard here. Make sure when you do this, you simply check the radio button that says create a new database. Next. Go ahead and register the database, that's fine. And click finish. And let's name the database here Western Birds Data. When you create yours, go ahead and add your name to the file name for when you turn it in. Alright, so now we have our database file here. The database application is structured. If you're familiar at all with Microsoft Access, it uses a lot of the same visual elements. Right now we're looking at the tables section, which there are no tables yet. There's also a queries, forms, and reports section, and we'll use these in just a bit here. Alright, so the next step, instead of trying to use the database import tools, which don't work quite really well. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the spreadsheet application that you created, and I'm going to click in the top left selector here to highlight the entire spreadsheet, and then click on Edit, Copy, and copy the entire spreadsheet into memory. And then we're going to go back to our database file here, and in the Tables section down here at the bottom, we're going to right-click and select Paste. And that's going to start our data import wizard that will create a table in the database file. Let's go ahead and name the database table Western Birds. And select definition and data here, and then also click this checkbox to create a primary key. The primary key is important in a database table to create a unique identifier for each database record that can be used to reference the records later on. It's important. So click Next. Then it's asking us what columns we want to import. Let's just go ahead and select this section here where we have start with Journal 1, which is our second journal column that you created. So this is essentially the green column header section of your spreadsheet. And we'll leave out citation because we're going to create our own citation query that'll do the same thing for us. All right, so now we have those fields that you cleaned up that are now in the right-hand section of the import wizard here. We'll click Next. We've got our ID field with a little key to indicate it's our key field. And everything looks good. Let's go ahead and click Create and give it a second here. All right, now it's gone ahead and done the import for us, and we have a table here in the table section called Western Birds. Now double click to open the table, and I've been having an issue with the database application that you might also experience, is that when you open it at first it looks like there's nothing in the table, and it's actually because the text is not displaying properly, and I think it's a bug in the OpenOffice application. But I've double clicked it, the table, and it looks like it's empty. I go ahead and click the upper left hand corner selector, and suddenly all my data is there. Now we're not going to work directly in the table, so we'll just ignore this bug for the time being. We're going to work in the query, and the query will let you preview the data, and the data will show up fine. So I'm sorry about the bug. I'm not sure what's causing it, but if you experience that, just ignore it and we'll move on. But all of our data is in there. Now let's jump back to the slide deck real quick and talk about query objects, which we're going to build a simple query object next. Query building using the simple query object is very simple. It's a matter of dragging individual fields in the table into the query builder tool, and then you can sort and group your fields from there very easily. Actually, what we're going to do is a little more complicated. We're actually going to take this formatting command set here, this formula, and we're going to input it in place of one of the field columns. And this will generate for us a one-field citation list for each record in the database. Now you can come back to review this formula as you are building your own database application. But the thing you'll notice about it is that the fields are formatted differently for the formula in the database than they were in the spreadsheet. And the form that we need to use in the database to create this formula is that each column name, each field name, needs to be enclosed in double quotes. Any formatting in between the fields, like periods and spaces here, or quote marks, or parentheses and colons, like here, those need to be enclosed in single quotes. And we concatenate the field names and the formatting together with two vertical bars in between each of the elements. This will make more sense to you when we get actually into the query application. And this is what your query is going to look like once you've input the formula completely. You see we've got the query builder here. We've added our Western Birds table, and in this row called field, we've input the formula from the last page. And then we've given the field a name that doesn't exist in the table. It's a custom name. We'll call it citation. So let's jump back out to the database application and create the first query object. Now here we've selected the query option on the left-hand menu bar. We're going to then pick query in design view. And this gives us our query builder form. And it asks us what tables we want to enter. We've just got one table. So make sure Western Birds is highlighted. Click Add, and then Close. You can adjust the spacing using these little spacing bars above and below. So now you see we've got our table object that's showing this is the data source for our query. Now we could just simply double-click individual fields in the table, and they'll automatically get entered into the query builder, and then you can use the F5 key or the Run Query button up here. When I click it, you'll see that we get to preview the data result from the query. So here in the field row, we've got Journal 1 and Volume 1, and those fields contain these data values. So I'm going to go back now and I'm going to remove these two columns, and then I'm going to just paste in my formula. Okay, so I've stretched out the field row here so we have enough room, and I'm just going to paste in the formula from the slide deck. And you'll need to type this in by hand, but it's very simple. You just need to use double quotes, single quotes, and the two vertical bars in between field and formatting elements. Then I'm going to click down here in alias, and we'll call this citation. And with any luck here, I'll punch the Run button, and we'll actually see our citation list, which that works out quite well actually here. So once we've created the citation list using the formula. Let's save that query with the save button up here as citation list. Now I'd like you to take a little bit of time and just have some fun playing around with the various formatting commands that you can use and see what kind of different queries you can create using this method of inputting formulas into the query object. To close this down, I'm going to close. Now you see here under queries we have our citation list. So let's jump back to the slide deck and talk about our next query, which we're going to use the structured query language, which is the basis of most contemporary database applications. And there are many variations of SQL, or the structured query language. SQL was originally developed in the 1970s, early on, and it actually was, the language was called SQL, S-E-Q-U-E-L, and it stood for Structured English Query Language, I believe. And so the IBM and Microsoft area of the IT industry has grown up calling SQL SQL, while Oracle and sort of that end of the industry and Sun have preferred to use the terminology SQL instead. It doesn't matter how you pronounce it, but it's the most common database programming language. And it was originally built to resemble a mathematical model for the relational database structure before relational databases existed, when they were just existed in theory. SQL is based roughly on English language grammatical elements. So you have a subject and a predicate, or a subject and an object in every SQL statement. The major SQL language commands, regardless of what variation of SQL you're using, include the select command, which is the query command, and select will retrieve data out of a database for you in read-only mode. The update command, like it sounds, is used to update existing data records in a database. The insert command is used to either create tables or to append records into a database table. And of course, the delete command is used to delete records out of a table. Now, the basic SQL statement format is to issue one of these four commands, then specify what fields you want to operate on using that command. So in the case of the select query, it's what fields do I want to return in my query result, and then use the keyword from to specify that you're going to select your data from one or more tables. And then the where clause is issued at the end so that you can filter the data or issue criteria that you want to pull only selected records out. And we'll use that in just a second. we'll use this basic SQL statement here as the basis of a more advanced SQL statement, which I'm going to have you all figure out. And essentially what we want to do is take this simple SQL select statement and add to it more fields than Journal 1, Volume 1, and Pages 1. We want to include all of the fields you'll need for your full bibliographic citation report. And then what we want to do at the very end, where the where clause is inserted, is that you remember from your spreadsheet assignment that there were a number of records in the spreadsheet where the pages were listed as front and back, which were records that indicated the front and back matter of each journal issue. We want to exclude these from the data set, so the query here reads that we want to select these fields from the Western Birds table where the field Pages 1 does not equal the word front. And I just noticed that I've got a typo here at the end of the SQL statement with a bad single quote. Actually, that bad single quote here should be one of these uniform single quotes at the end. So don't let that throw you. We also want to exclude the term back from the Pages 1 column. You'll notice that from your spreadsheet assignment as well. So the way we would add that on to this basic SQL statement is to say not equals front, and then and in all caps, not equals back in single quotes. And I'll show you that in just a second here. We'll leave the slide deck again and go build the query in SQL View in the database. So back here at our database application, we want to create a query in SQL View, and we click on that, and it's not very impressive. We simply get a notepad style field to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and start typing the SQL command string that we looked at in the spreadsheet. We want to start with the select command, and then we want to put each field name we want to include inside double quotes. So Journal 1, and then a comma, and Volume 1, quote, comma, and let's go ahead and add Pages 1. Those are our three fields that we're going to pull out of the Western Birds table. From is the next keyword that we need to enter, and then in quotes, Western Birds. And then you'll remember we want to add the where clause so that we can filter out all of the records that list Pages 1, the Pages 1 field as containing front and back. So we're going to type where Pages 1, and then we'll put does not equal. You remember that's greater than, that's less than, and that's not equal. Now hopefully with any luck, when we click Run Query here, we'll actually get our query results, and we do. So now you see that our simple SQL string here has produced this query result where we've got the journal name, the volume name, and the pages, pagination listed. And the pages, if we sort them in ascending order, and descending order, we'll see that the records that have the word front in the pages column aren't showing up. So if I want to extend the filter so that neither the word front or back, which is listed here, if we want to take the word back out from the pages, which we do, filter those out, I simply type and, then we have to type pages again and be specific. Pages 1 does not equal back. And when we hit run, and if we sort by descending order, we'll notice here that both the records with the term front and back are now filtered out. Now for your assignment, what I want you to do, since I've shown you how to do the filter, is to add in the additional fields needed so that you can use this query as the basis of your report. So you'll need to add issue number, year, title, and author full name into this query in the select area right up front here. Save that as, we'll call this report list. And take a little time. You can use the online help here for the OpenOffice database to learn more about OpenOffice SQL and writing SQL queries. We've only covered just one small type of query, although the select query command is one of the more powerful and you use it a lot. But we haven't talked about how to insert, update, delete records using SQL, and there's a whole other area of the SQL language that deals with joining database tables in a relational database format where you've got multiple tables that have different parts of the information in each table that need to be joined and concatenated together in a query. So this is just the most basic type of query, but it's important to, it's not necessarily important to master SQL programming commands, but it's good to know what they look like and how they work. And it's useful to create SQL commands in various different kinds of database settings where you're building custom database applications. So with that, go ahead and complete your database work, and then don't turn in the database yet. Go ahead and watch the demo next for the third part of the assignment, where we'll build a form and a report. And then at that point, you'll generate your final report out of the database and turn in your 3 files, the spreadsheet, the database, which includes the queries, forms, and reports, and a final PDF version report. So have fun, and I'll see you at the next part of the demonstration.